guys, hey guys, hey guys, hey guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another video here on Space Queen ASMR. I am Jen, and if this is your first time here, then welcome to my channel. If you have been here for a while, then welcome back. Thank you all for coming back for another video. I'd just like to take a second to say that if this is your first time visiting the channel, if you like what you see, please consider liking the video, leaving me a comment, and letting me know what you think of the video. And maybe, hey, it's totally free. It's totally free. And if you like what you see, just, consider giving a little clickety click on the subscribe button just down below there and joining the Space Fam. If you are into, murder mysteries, serial killers, weird things, spooky things, all of that type of jazz, then you are going to fit right in here. So you might as well just give it a little click, right? I mean, hey, like I said, it's totally free and we have new videos every week. After that, I would also just like to say I'm sorry that it's been a little bit longer than normal between videos. As some of you may have seen in the newest or first post in my thank you guys all so much, my community tab. I finally got my community tab so I can give you guys updates. And it's made me so happy, so thank you guys all so much for your activity on the channel and for your subscriptions. It means the world to me, and you got me that community tab so I can keep you updated between videos, and thank you so much. That's very important to me. So as you may have seen, well, my mom is in the process of moving, and I also just got a promotion at my work over this past week that has changed me from a graveyard shift worker to a 9-to-5-er. So I have been going through quite a period of adjustment over the last about week and a half since making all of those changes. It's made me need to create a new schedule for video creation, for my Twitch streaming, for just my regular things in life. So I greatly apologize that it's been a little bit longer than normal between videos, but please do bear with me. I'm adjusting to some very large changes, and videos in the future will probably move to weekend uploads with some others in the middle if I can fit it in. Just bear with me on that. So that is all that I had to say before we get into the video today, except that I would like to warn anyone who has clicked into this video that this is going to be one of the first serial killers and cases that I'm covering that really deals with rape and sexual assault, and I know that I'm very sensitive to those topics, and so I want to give fair trigger warning to anyone who does not want to be triggered by that, that this video does contain some discussion of those things. So if that is something that is going to trigger you, then by all means, please join me in the next video. Your mental health is what is most important. But I love you all so much. Today we are going to be talking about a Canadian serial killer by the name of Allan Legere. That is the topic that we are going to be getting into today. So without further ado, let's start today's discussion. Allan Legere was also known as the monster of the Mirimachi. He is a Canadian serial killer, serial abductor, and serial rapist who came from New Brunswick, Canada. He is most notoriously known for his escape from custody and the subsequent multiple month-long chase and running away attempts and killing spree that would result from this escape from custody. There would be a lot of devastation and tragedy before Legere would be recaptured and reprimanded. Legere's conviction was also the first time that DNA evidence was utilized by Canadian courts for prosecution against an individual in Canadian history. So this was a case that really marked a historical point in Canadian legal workings in that way. So Allan Joseph Legere, his full name, was born in the Chatham Hood neighborhood of Mirimachi, New Brunswick. Little is known about Legere's life, except that his previous work as a car salesman at Winchester before his first arrest was something that had taken place in his younger years. So really that's all that we know, is that he was employed as a car salesman for some period of time in his younger years. But other than that, not a lot about his early life or family is really known, unfortunately. So things all began on June 21st of 1986. On this date, Legere and his accomplice Todd Matchett and Scott Curtis targeted a convenience store in Black River Bridge late in the evening. After cutting the power to the whole store, after the trio had cut the power to the store and looting had begun taking place, the trio took this opportunity to break into the store and attack the elderly couple who ran it. This couple was John and Mary Glendenning. John was tragically beaten to death, and Mary was also beaten to death, but unfortunately she was also raped by the three attackers before the group fled. What a horrible end to meet. Mary woke up and after seeing her husband dead, crawled upstairs to call emergency responders who spoke with her until she was rescued. What a horrible experience. I can't even imagine what that would be like. The poor woman, and she would succumb to her wounds. The police identified and arrested the three robbers and attackers shortly thereafter, while Matchett took a guilty plea to murder and assault. Legere and Curtis were convicted of their charges. Convicted of their charges in court. Sorry, I have a little acid reflux today. I apologize. Legere specifically was convicted on the charges in court. Legere was sentenced to life in prison from the conviction of second-degree murder. On May 3rd of 1989, Legere was transferred from maximum security prison to the Dr. Georges L. Dumont Regional Hospital for treatment of an ear infection. Legere then, during this treatment, requested of correctional services personnel to use a washroom. Now, when they let this man use the washroom, he was already prepared and he already had a plan. He pulled a metal shiv that he had concealed in his rectum out while in the bathroom, picked the logs on all of his everyone present at enough of a distance while escaping from the hospital. He would release Olive around the time he sped off in her car. So he held this woman hostage and then stole her vehicle and let her go. Legere stayed on the run through multiple acts of carjacking, through multiple thefts and robberies. During the months Legere was on the run, yet still residing in New Brunswick, the region was at an absolute precipice of terror. Everyone was living in total fear. People were staying in clumps, families were staying and residing together, friends would reside together. No one wanted to be on their own, no one wanted anyone to be out unnecessarily. Trick-or-treating was even cancelled that year because everyone was so afraid of just being outside while the monster of the Mirimachi was at large. And I mean, can you blame them? That's terrifying. I wouldn't want my child out trick-or-treating while there was someone like that out and about. That's just no, that's just no, that's not okay. That's not okay, not at all. On May 29th, Legere attacked shopkeeper Anne Flam, then 75, and her sister Nina, then 61, in Chatham. Annie was murdered and Nina was beaten and raped. Their home was then set on fire to try to destroy the scene of the crime. Nina, however, was rescued in time by responders. After this, Legere went largely dormant for a few months, and around that time his appeal in absentia for his first conviction was shot down by the Canadian Supreme Court. This happened on October 1st, as the Supreme Court stated that since he was not there, they refused to submit a ruling if he wasn't in custody. Even in spite of 5 similar cases later receiving rulings from the court. Now, on October 13th, Legere broke into the home of 2 sisters, Donna, 45, and Linda, 41. I'm sorry if I mispronounce this. Donnie, Daughgney. Donnie. I struggle with that word for some reason, so I am very sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. If you know the correct pronunciation, please leave it phonetically in the comments. For some reason, my brain and tongue just cannot. He would end up raping and murdering both of the sisters, before also setting their home on fire to destroy the scene. Legere's final confirmed murder was on November 16th. On this day, he murdered priest James Smith, age 69, in the rectory of his own church, so in a place that should have been sanctuary for all. This priest unfortunately lost his life this day. This was at the Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church in Chatham Hill, New Brunswick. Legere would then make off with valuables from the rectory safe, as well as Father Smith's car. Now, this is not where the wild goose chase of Legere would end. Oh, no. Several other things would happen on the way. So on November 24th, Legere would carjack a taxi driver, Ram Gomke, a truck driver named Brian Golding, and even an off-duty constable, Michelle Mercer. He began his spree in St. John, traveling all the way outside Rogersville in an attempt to make it to Moncton, before being arrested without resistance by the Canadian RCMP. They had set up a blockade to stop him, and they did initially succeed. So Legere at first did not resist, but he would turn aggressive when the police attempted to aggressively subdue him. Legere struck back violently, pushing and pinning the officer to the ground before once again escaping from law enforcement. A reward of $50,000 was given to any civilians who had given them evidence in what was happening with Legere and to get him back in custody. So thanks to people's tips, Legere was convicted in August 1990, and they convicted him on escape charges initially, and he received 9 more years, in addition to his first sentence of life in prison. Legere was indicted and convicted of murder charges in November. His trial was the first time in Canadian history that DNA evidence was used to convict rather than exonerate a person in Canadian legal history. So this was big news for DNA evidence and its use in murder convictions in the history of our country's legal system. So that was a big friggin' deal, you guys. That's a big friggin' deal for historically in our legal system. And as we all know, DNA evidence is kind of the standard for prosecution and defense these days, so it would really set the groundwork, I believe, for the way that we process legally in these types of matters in the country. Ooh, sorry, I have a hair in my eye there. It's been bothering me. So, they had used DNA profiling to get him really solidified as the person responsible in this case. So Legere was transferred from super maximum security to maximum security in 2015. In August 2020, Mirimachi was set on fire with panic once again. When he applied for day parole, they were terrified that he was going to be a presence in their community, bringing fear and murder once more. However, this was denied vehemently at a hearing on January 31st in 2021, and Legere remains incarcerated. It's also interesting to note that the provincial jail where Legere was once housed was turned over into a science museum in the community. Now, the cell that Legere occupied in that jail is now an exhibit on DNA profiling and DNA evidence. So that's kind of a neat thing. It goes towards teaching about the legal system and the science behind that. So his cell could actually be used in this case to teach on those levels, which is awesome. Not awesome the things that went on. He's a horrible person who deserves to be in prison for life, but some silver lining can come of that, at least to teach. This was a horrible, horrible story, you guys, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there are several other cases that it is greatly suspected that Legere may be responsible for, including, I believe, the disappearance of an unsolved case of a young girl from Halifax in the 80s that I want to discuss in a future video, so that may tie in. He targeted couples and sisters who were elderly and unable to defend themselves and tried to cowardly burn his crime scenes and took to a manhunt-sized running spree before succumbing to law enforcement and life imprisonment. I sincerely hope that this man never has any opportunity for day parole or any type of freedom that will let him out of that jail cell. This man deserves to be supernatural life. That is all for this case this week, though, guys. This was one of the Maritime's most prolific and terrifying serial killers. I hope that you have enjoyed hearing about this case with me this evening, and I hope that the triggering content matter was well enough warned, or that you weren't too affected by that. It is very hard to avoid that type of subject matter in the type of content that I do. It's something that I am very sensitive to as well, however, so please know that I will try to handle those types of topics with as much grace as I can. I definitely care about everyone's mental health, and I don't want anyone to have to experience anything that they don't have to. So, if you couldn't make it through this one today, guys, that is a-okay. Please just come back next time. I totally understand. But you guys, that's it for tonight. I will be back next weekend with another case, and I'll be seeing you around in the community tab this week with some posts, maybe some polls, just some neat bits of interaction. Again, I really hope that you enjoyed this one this week. Sorry it was a little bit late coming, but I hope you all understand. Everyone goes through change sometimes that shakes up their schedule, so I appreciate your patience all so much. That's all, you guys. I hope to see you here next time, and thank you for being here every week with me up until this point. I love you all. I love you all. I love you all so much. See you